Hello, my lovely listeners. I'm Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns. Welcome to this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss.
Hello, lovely listeners. Dr. Mary here, and I'm extremely excited to be joined by a fabulous guest today. We have got Elly McLean here, who is a nutritionist and a holistic weight loss expert, and she shares so many of the same values that we do about health first, and she's here to share her expertise today. How are you going?
I'm good, Mary. Thanks so much for being here. I've had you on my show. I'm excited to be on the other side of the mic today.
Yes, I am too. We've known each other for quite a while. We've worked in the same spheres, both working around the Surf Coast in Victoria. So I know there's been a lot of back and forth, which I love. Clients sending them to you, sending them back to me, and working together on helping beautiful people get the best health that they can. And I know you do telehealth and you work online. And could you just tell our lovely listeners a bit about you and what you do and how you got started in this space?
So I do work purely online now. There was a time when I worked more face-to-face, but I had a baby 6 months ago, and since then I've decided just to do online. Most people are pretty comfortable with it these days, and the way I practice means that I don't necessarily need to be in close proximity with my clients. I use conversation, test results, whether that be blood, stool, urine or saliva analysis to help direct the path that my clients take. I work a lot in weight loss, which sometimes I think, does that just make me a really cliche, predictable nutritionist? But then I think, no, I want to fly the flag for those people who want to lose weight, do it healthily, do it sustainably, and feel like they have an option other than counting calories, because it is just a slippery slope to winding up eating nothing for most people if they want to maintain weight loss. So that's a little bit about what I do. It means that I help with my clients with nutrient status, hormone balance, stress management, exercise, lifestyle, and of course what they eat. So there's lots that goes into sustainable and holistic weight loss. And it's interesting. I think back to my childhood, and I never want to play the blame game, but I was raised by my mother, who was always on a new diet, whether it was Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Dukan, the list went on. And so that was my early introduction to nutrition. But I also loved watching sports like AFL, Ironman. And so as a teenager at school, I was really interested in how nutrition might help these athletes. And I was stoked when I found out there was a degree that you could do that looked at exercise and nutrition. And so that's what I went on to study. I finished when I was pretty young, though, because I started school a little bit younger than the average. And I felt way too ripe to go and practice and work with adults and tell them to live their life and what to eat. So I spent about 10 years working in the corporate health and wellbeing space in an Australian startup company. So got a lot of experience there, and then started practicing one-on-one as a nutritionist in around about 2017. So that is the quick version of me and what I do, how I got here.
Fantastic. I love that you are owning that, that fat loss, weight loss space, because I believe that for so many people, weight loss is important. However, it's almost never the most important thing. We want people to have good health and good metabolic health, and weight loss is often a part of that and a happy side effect of that. But weight loss at any cost and only focusing on that, I think it is a slippery slope to like calorie counting, restriction, but also just a really, really toxic place for our bodies and our brains. So health first weight loss is something I completely get behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got particular expertise in plant-based nutrition, which I'd love to chat more about this, because we've got lots of beautiful people who are our clients and our patients who, for all kinds of reasons, don't want to eat animal foods or want to eat less animal foods. And it can be tricky to navigate this because we have got an emphasis on metabolic healing. And for many people, to heal their metabolism and to heal the metabolic hormones and to keep their metabolism increased and get weight loss, you need to reduce your sugars and your starches. You need to have a lower carbohydrate lifestyle. And that can be trickier when you're fully plant-based. And also, there is within that low carb community a lot of people who eat only animal foods. The carnivore diet has got quite a strong following. We've had doctors on here who follow a carnivore diet, and we're all about real food, like real food first. And that can be animal based and it can be plant based and it can be a mixture of both. And we're all about empowering people to have the right information and make the right choices. So could you tell us more about like some of the challenges for people who want to be plant-based or predominantly plant-based and how they could best overcome those?
And don't get me wrong, for a lot of people, they associate low-carb nutrition with really animal-dominant nutrition, and it's just not the way that it has to be at all. There are so many beautiful lower-carb, high-protein, high-fat plant foods that can be consumed under a lower-carb template. I think the challenge is time and learning about food, because the most convenient lower carb, higher protein, higher fat foods, arguably most convenient are animal proteins, meat, eggs, and, foods like tofu, tempeh. For a lot of people, they're not as convenient. So it's time, and it's not even huge amounts of time. It's actually just creating a little bit of time, a little bit of planning, effort, attention into what you're going to eat so you don't get caught short. You don't get caught short wishing that you could just put a quick steak on the barbie or wishing that you could, quickly poach some salmon. But you've prepared yourself and, you've made a tofu curry or got the ingredients to make a tofu stir fry. So although plant-based, lower-carb template doesn't have to be more time-consuming, I think when you don't know your options as well, it can feel like it's more time-consuming. So you're going to attempt it.
Thank you so much for that. I think that we can often overestimate how long it actually takes to prepare good food, and that we can be pleasantly surprised how easy it is when we get into a habit, and that we could actually get into the habit pretty easily. And yes, having those plant-based options might not be easy as a boiled egg and some ham straight from the fridge, but they can still be doable. But a question we get asked a lot is protein. So on a plant-based diet or a predominantly plant-based diet where it's lower in carbs, how do you get your protein? Because those traditional higher protein foods like your legumes, they come wrapped up in carbs. So how do you advise people?
They do. Those high protein legumes do come wrapped up in carbs. And when somebody does want to take a lower carb approach to plant-based nutrition, I almost just take the emphasis away from lentils and legumes. Not that they shouldn't be part of the diet, but they've got to be just one of the protein options within the diet. So really top of the list for plant proteins, number one, a good quality protein powder. They can be considered real food, and in particular, I would recommend looking for a good quality pea and rice protein powder. Maybe second to that, a hemp seed powder, but really a pea and rice protein powder should be the go-to. And if you're looking for one that has minimal ingredients, then we put it in the category of maybe not real food, but very helpful food that is not too far away from real food. And then a close second in terms of protein quality. Well, actually, no, this would be number one in terms of protein quality, but a close second in terms of ease factor would be tofu or tempeh. Always looking for organic, non-genetically modified tofu or tempeh, and in its most real form. So we're not looking for tofu sausages and mock burgers. We're looking for pieces of firm tofu or silken tofu or tempeh, and we're using those as ingredients in a recipe, whether it be seared tofu through a gatto, whether it be tempeh cooked within a curry. It's a really good source of protein and very low in carbohydrate as well. So profile-wise, it's, relatively similar to using an animal protein. They would be the top two proteins in a lower carbohydrate, predominantly plant-based diet. And then we're looking at lentils and legumes. For most women in particular, to get a full serving of protein from lentils and legumes, we're talking about a cup. And for most women, that is just too much in the way of beans or lentils to consider at one sitting, right? Like, it's really filling. It is higher carb, even though a lot of that carbohydrate is fiber. It's really filling and it might be quite uncomfortable. So when it comes to lentils and legumes, I usually recommend about a half a cup worth, so maybe about 10 grams of protein worth, and then pairing it with something else. So a couple of tablespoons of hemp seeds is a great addition to complete the amino acid profile and increase the protein content without increasing the carbohydrate content. Or if it is predominantly plant-based and there's room for a little bit of animal protein, maybe it could be some eggs paired with the legumes to make a full serving of protein. I would love it if people were looking for minimum 20 grams of protein per main meal, but ideally 30 grams of protein per main meal, depending on the gender and their level of exercise, their size, and to some degree goals, whether they've got weight loss goals, for example. But, a serving of protein powder, 120, 130 grams of tofu, tempeh, a cup of lentils and legumes, or half a cup with a few tablespoons of hemp seeds, they would be your equivalents to get that 20 grams of protein as a starting point. So it's doable. It's totally doable. You just have to be aware of where that protein is coming from and factor it into your planning.
Yes, I love that. And yet tofu and tempeh, these are ancient foods that humans have been eating for so long. And I think that they are a world apart from the, processed fake meat, corn sort of products. They're completely different. You're having minimally processed fermented soy products. They really are very different. You mentioned complete the amino acid profile. Could you please expand on what you mean there?
So amino acids are the building blocks of protein. We have 9 essential amino acids that we have to get through our diet. When you're looking at animal protein, they are what we consider complete proteins because they contain all of those essential amino acids. When we're looking at plant foods naturally, in the one place don't contain all of those 9 essential amino acids, which is why it's important to get a range of proteins in the diet to ensure you're getting all of those essential amino acids. As I would to somebody on a non-plant-based diet, I really encourage diversity. So if it is protein powder for breakfast in a smoothie, then it's tofu or tempeh, in a salad or curry at lunchtime, and then it's lentils and legumes in a dal for dinner. So you're getting a range of protein sources over the course of the day. We used to think, going back a long time ago now, that you had to have a range of protein options in the one meal, but it's actually just over the course of the day you need those protein options to get your essential amino acids.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very clear. And I'd agree with that protein content that you say, at least 20, ideally 30. We generally say that you want to have about a gram of protein per kilogram of body weight, about each day. And so for most people, getting at least 60, but certainly 90 or more grams of protein a day is excellent on the days that you eat. Like if you do a bit of intermittent fasting every now and again, you don't necessarily have to worry about hitting your targets those days. Yes.
It's amazing how much that influences appetite. Obviously, we know that fat incredibly satiating and supports satiety, but protein, it's our number one satiety macronutrient. And within the plant-based community, I tell you what, when they transition from a very standard or sad plant-based diet, which is heavily reliant on, grains and cereals, and then they suddenly start having that serving of protein with every meal, the satiety that kicks into gear. Like they're like, oh my God, I feel so satisfied. I'm not craving sweets after a meal anymore. I'm not up and down on this energy roller coaster all day long. So that little bit of, mental application and effort to get protein in every meal makes a huge difference into, on product levels and energy levels and satiety. And that's life-changing, really.
I could not agree more. And right down at that cellular level, yes, it's very satiating, but it's also so good for our metabolic health, for our mitochondrial health, for our energy, for our brain clarity. Yeah, protein is absolutely key and essential. And yes, you can do it if you want to eat predominantly plant-based or all plant-based. So, thank you so much for sharing your expertise there. I think it is extremely important and really useful information for people out there. So, if people want to, find you and learn about how they could work with you, where are they able to track you down?
Well, Nutritionally is my website, so that's nutrition with ELLY on the end. A little play on words there. So nutritionally.com is my website. It's a home for lower carbohydrate plant-based recipes as well as articles designed to help those maybe wanting to learn about things through a slightly plant-based lens. However, I am very welcoming to people of all preferences and definitely support people, who are omnivores or plant-based, maybe less the carnivores. So my website, nutritionally.com, or Instagram, which is @nutritionally.
And what would be your parting words of wisdom for people out there who just want to start, like they are interested in metabolic health and they're not really sure where exactly to start? Like, what would be your little pearls for these beautiful people?
Start with 2 cups of veggies with your main meals and see how that starts to transform your appetite control, your energy levels, your mental clarity, and your taste buds, your preferences. It'll be so much easier to start to reduce the carb content of a meal if you've got 2 cups of veggies that you're filling up on. And then, of course, in a perfect world, I'd say, can you also get a full serving of protein?
Yeah, good. That's a great place to start. I like that. Anything else you'd like to add?
It's incredibly important for people following lower carb nutrition, from my point of view, whether it be a plant-based version of that or omnivorous version of that, to put a huge emphasis on plants. You may have had, carnivore specialists on the show before, but from a long-term health point of view, there's got to be plants included. Our gut microbiome is so heavily influenced by plants. So I just want to invite people to really value the inclusion of plants at every meal. And that's why I say, can you just start with 2 cups of veggies when you're building a meal and then go from there? Because these plants are the home of fibers and antioxidants and so many minerals and nutrients, which, the sum total of those, we can't yet even quantify how they influence the human body.
No, I like that. And that we use plants to feed our gut. I could ask if maybe you'd want to have a bit of a right of reply that there's a well-known carnivore doctor out there, and I'm fairly moderate in this debate, who says all plants are trying to kill you, and with reference to phytonutrients and anti-nutrients and components within plants that, yeah, sure, they do try and fill themselves up with toxins to avoid being eaten by animals. But what would you say to that?
We know that there are these components of plants that are trying to protect themselves, but the way that we prepare that plant food will change the level of toxicity and our ability to digest, and also the state of our gut microbiome will influence how we interact with that plant food and how it influences us. So I don't think that the plants are necessarily trying to kill us I would say, a dramatized statement.
I think that's fair, definitely. And we've evolved to, deal with all of these different parts of plants because humans have been eating plants a very, 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 very long time. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. It's been absolutely invaluable. And I look forward to having you again on the podcast very, very soon.
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate it.
Good health and weight loss is all about rebalancing your body, about getting to the actual root cause of the metabolic root cause that can make us unwell in the first place. And we have got a fabulous 4-week program that has been designed by myself, Dr. Mary, and Dr. Lucy. It's designed by expert doctors, weight loss experts. This 4-week program gives you everything you need to address that underlying cause of being overweight, to be able to boost your metabolism, to lose weight without being hungry. And we have got information there if you are plant-based, if you are an omnivore, even if you're a carnivore, you can use the beautiful information in this program to get you started on your very last weight loss journey. So to check out more, go to our website, rlmedicine.com/4WB Arts, our 4-week body rebalance. You can also click the link in the show notes and you can learn more. Oh, beautiful people. I love talking about health. I love talking about real food, and I have loved being here with you today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you will hear us again next week. See ya.
The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualised medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.